and thank you for joining me today for this webinar about the Wingtra. I'll just give a couple more seconds whilst people are still joining us. Hope you've all had a good day today and a good start to the year. Hi Tom, welcome. Hi Stephen. So thanks for joining me. This is the webinar about the Wingtra VTOL system. And we're basically going to go through some of its features and why the Wingtra is the best fixed wing / VTOL system on the market. And how do I find myself here talking to you about it? So I'm James. I am the business development manager at Copters. And I mainly work with survey construction businesses to enable them to use drones to the best of their abilities for help and support. I said I did surveying and mapping science at Newcastle University a few years ago and did my final year project in drones, basically using it in a coastal monitoring environment where we used a fixed wing to compare traditional methods and with newer technology at the time, which was drones, and with some really incredible results. Even back then. So after I left university, I worked in the offshore industry as a dimensional control surveyor. So I got to travel the world and learn from experience in the field about surveying, and it's really useful. I learned a lot out and worked some really great surveyors along the way and picked up a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. Then joined Copters in 2017, where I said I work with surveyors, construction businesses, anybody who wants to get the most out of drones in a surveying geospatial kind of way. So we don't just sell the Wingtra at Copters, we're firmly committed to the survey industry. So we sell the Wingtra VTOL system, very proud to be the first UK supplier of them, and we've achieved European prime distribution specialist this year from them. We're a Pix4D reseller and trainer, where we've also become a prime reseller for them as well. We do Global Mapper, which is a GIS-based system as well. Really great software and a really good price as well. We do Phase 1 metric cameras. They do the IXM model, which is the best camera on the market for survey applications and used across the board in a multitude of industries, including inspection. But for the highest possible survey grade results with the highest possible quality, look no further than the IXM. LiDAR USA partner them guys in the States. There's nothing which them guys haven't put LiDAR on in one way or another. So you're talking things like fixed wing drones, talking about multi-rotors, vehicles, quad bikes, boats, anything which you can basically fit a LiDAR sensor on. There's a very good chance that them guys have already done it. And as we probably know, we are a DJI enterprise partner in the UK. So if you are looking for anything from sort of the smaller entry-level DJI drones like Phantom 4 RTKs, which I'm a huge fan of, all the way up to the bigger M300s, that kind of thing. So we just work with some of our partners who we work with in the UK in terms of businesses. So, large civil engineering businesses to smaller independent survey firms as well. We don't differentiate at Copters. We don't care if you're just a small one-man band to large organizations. It was the same service across the board, a very personal touch with that help and support along the way, which we know people in this industry need that. And that's why a lot of people come to us, because we offer that help and support with specialists like myself to help guide, support you along the way so that you get the most out of your investment and you're happy with that data which you're handing over to the client. So we look at Wingtra. So Wingtra aren't new. They have been making drones since 2016 in Zurich, Switzerland, and now have a global presence across the board in Europe, the Middle East, the States, and they've grown massively from where they were all them years ago. And we've been with them every step of the way as a UK partner. And they really are leading this VTOL technology with their WingtraOne system. And themselves as a business, they're big themselves. They have up to 80 plus people working in the organization, from R&D to the marketing side and the support side as well. So in terms of investment, you've got that support not only of ourselves, but from the manufacturer as well, which is vitally important to get the most out of these systems. So where is the Wingtra mainly used? Well, typically, as most of you would expect, with it being kind of designed for the survey and mapping industry that ticks all the boxes in that respect. And also in terms of mining, as we imagine large quarries or open cast mines, it really does come into its own. The WingtraOne will be able to collect large amounts of data sets at the highest quality in a very fast time. And also the agricultural side of it, you can equip these with multispectral cameras like the Micasense, the Red Edge or the Altum. And also an example there, which we'll have a look a little bit more of a look at, about tracking wildlife in the sea as well. So in terms of also what we like to promote, and like WingtraOne like to promote themselves as a business, is the success stories. As we've touched on, these have been used across the globe with a multitude of success stories. You only have to look on the WingtraOne's website, where they'll go into detail with case studies and testimonials from clients saying what a great product this is. And I've been flying it for about 3 years now, and I love it as a product. If any of you spoke to me in the past, it's certainly one of my favorite things we sell at Copters. And one of the things I really get excited about doing demos for with people and just seeing the quality of data from the system. So why are people using the WingtraOne? Well, certainly from a survey perspective, high quality resolution. So we can get down to sort of 0.7 centimeters pixel and around about a centimeter GSD. Has a high accurate PPK module on it. So when we're looking and comparing these with some checkpoints we put down on the ground, typically we're around that sort of 10 mil accuracy check on that, and we can cover large areas with this. I've got some examples which we're going to touch on later on, but as a most recent example, I had the WingtraOne out last Wednesday morning with a survey business, and we flew 120 acres in about 40 minutes of flying at around about 1.1 centimeter GSD. So that's flying at 120 meters. And yeah, I mean, that's unbelievable amount of coverage in such a short space of time. And typically on site, all we did is we put about 10 checkpoints across the whole site. That probably took around about an hour, and then we flew it in 40 minutes. So in a couple of hours, and an hour if you wanted to travel, add travel onto that as well. That's 3 hours, 120 acre survey completed. And it's VTOL systems. This particular site probably wouldn't have been ideal for a typical belly lander fixed wing drone. We were taking off on some kind of old rough ground where time was area was quite precious. So we had one takeoff and landing area, which could easily be done with the VTOL capabilities, and it's safe as well. And we can also control it on the descent as well. So perfectly safe and very easy to use. There's this kind of thing about fixed wings that people think that they're hard to fly, and I'm not sure if this is because some people are from that kind of day where they've probably flown RC model planes before, and obviously they're very difficult to fly. The WingtraOne's not like that. It's very easy to fly, as easy to use as a multi-rotor like a Phantom 4 RTK. So the learning curve, if you're already used to flying drones, is not very difficult at all. It's not a steep learning curve. You can move over from a small multi-rotor to a WingtraOne very easily. So why are people using it again? Well, obviously mapping these unreachable areas and large areas as well. But typically as well, I mean, I know a lot of people think that fixed wing drones are used to or only can be used in a large mapping application, which I really don't agree with. You know, you've got this VTOL capability. You can take and land in areas like you would with a Phantom 4 RTK, and with it being VTOL, you can use these for small to medium size areas as well. So there's no real problem with using these in a small or to medium sized environment, which makes your return on investment a lot better. You're not just trying to find them big mapping jobs to use them on. You can use them for sort of day-to-day work as well. I just noticed down you've put a question in. If you'd like to put any questions you've got at the bottom of this screen, and I will answer them at the end. So ask anything about WingtraOne, about the surveying side. More than happy to take questions on anything at all. I just touch on yours now. Dan, seems you haven't put it in that one. The task you talk about took 3 hours to undertake. Out of interest, how long did the crunch and data take? Well, the data was about 30 gig from that site. So for the 40 minutes of flying, it was about 40 gigs. So I didn't process it, the company processed it. So for the PPK side, so geotagging them with the highly accurate coordinates took maybe 10 minutes. For the processing, it took place in Pix4D. That probably took, for the initial processing, and bearing in mind this business does have powerful computers, took maybe an hour and a half for that. And then also in terms of the actual producing of, say, a point cloud, which was the end deliverable in this sort of context, took 6 or 7 hours. But they processed that not on the optimal. If you're used to Pix4D, you have that option of picking how many points, if you want a low density, a medium density, or a high density. They went for the highest density possible good in Pix4D. So that took us about six odd hours. Now, whilst we're on the topic of file sizes, let's not forget, if you had to do that job, say, with a Phantom 4 RTK, there's not really too much difference in storage time, because what you'll actually have more data from it. So if you imagine you're flying 120 acres of Phantom 4 RTK, you're going to be flying at a much lower altitude. So you won't be able to push that 120 meters like you could with the Wingtra. So let's say you're flying at 55 meters to achieve about a 1.5 centimeter GSD. So you're going to have so much more data. It's going to take you a hell of a long time to fly that as well. And also, with the Wingtra, it's a 42 megapixel camera. And I often hear people say, yeah, that's huge file sizes. But what you're forgetting is it's double the sensor size of the Phantom 4 RTK. So it's going to make no difference in terms of one-to-one comparison with Phantom. But you've got that added benefit if you are flying much higher with a much bigger footprint. So in essence, you'll probably find that your data is slightly smaller. So certainly won't impede any processing time. And as we touched on, we've got this high-grade PPK module on there as well. So when we talk about like mapping unreachable areas, so we've got this benefit with it being VTOL. We can really take off and land within a 2 meter by 2 meter area, like on boats or in forest runs. I know some guys in Europe are doing that. But you've also got that advantage of you're in full control of it. So even on the descent of the Wingtra, you can stall it. You can bring it down at a controlled manner. If it's gusting, for example, you can pause it and wait for the wind to die down and bring it down manually yourself. So even though it is this automated system, you still have that control, and you can move it into the vertical position as well as into the fixed wing position, even throughout a mission as well. So you can pause it, let it hover, then resume the mission as well. And it's very gentle. Wingtra really refine this technology and the algorithms to bring that down safely, even in really windy conditions. And I've got a video I can show you of it coming down in very gusty conditions, because a lot of people kind of think with it being the size and it being like a large surface area, it struggles in the wind, and it's just not true at all. And also we've got this control. You might see with other belly landing drones that we're always constantly landing them and we're damaging the cameras on them, or we're damaging props or wings. That's not the case with the Wingtra, because it's always controlled. We can bring it down in a way which fits our purposes, and we can adjust this too as well. If there's wind, we can move slightly over to maybe into a more sheltered area. So Tom, just put your questions down at the bottom. There is a questions page. Flight control it uses is a Pixhawk Cube on the Wingtra one. On to our next slide. So this is just a nice little something which we probably wouldn't have thought of you can use the Wingtra for, but in this kind of application, it was used for monitoring sort of manatees in Australia. So this was the takeoff and landing areas on a boat. So it was very much a dynamic environment. The boat was obviously moving and bobbing up and down. The great thing about the Wingtra is it has a small sensor underneath, which kicks in at about 30 meters. So it's constantly trying to adjust and control that landing. And I've taken off in some really weird and wonderful areas with gusting winds. And it's one of those products which I've always had that utmost confidence in that's going to do exactly what I want it to do. And this was just a nice application where we always think of sort of fixed wings with cameras on, sort of always some kind of a mapping, surveying application. But it can be used in other applications which we might not necessarily think of. And in this case, it was the wildlife kind of monitoring way. So we talk about this like large area coverage. I mean, a good example I'll show you later on where we covered about 200 acres in a very small amount of time. But as we touched on before, because we're using this high quality sensor, we are covering a huge area, but still not losing a GSD. We're still being able to fly at a very high altitude, but be able to still pick up features like a curb line or manhole covers, that kind of thing. So that's where the efficiency really comes into it with the Wingtra. We can push these higher levels of flight, 120 meters the max we can use in this in the UK. So we can really fly at them high altitudes and still manage to pick up features, still maintain a high degree of accuracy, but still get the job done quicker. So when you compare it to, say, a Phantom 4 RTK, the Wingtra's 15 times quicker. And in an industry where time is money, we can collect a lot of data and get that out to the client a lot quicker than maybe something else where we might spend a couple of days in the field, even with a drone. So this was a good example. I'm going to show you a video here. Some of you might recognise the dam there. That's Lady Bower Dam, and we did something with Severn Trent Water. So I'll just show this. I hope the quality is good. It's a bit of the dam busters for you there.
Hi, I'm Duncan Turner. I lead the drone team at Severn Trent Water, and today, on the hottest day of the year so far, we have been at Lady Bower. We're doing a dam survey using the Wingtra to test the capabilities of this new aircraft. This type of survey may have taken the dam team several days to complete, where we've been able to complete the entire survey of the dam with the Wingtra in under 90 minutes. So the use of drones within Severn Trent has really sort of pushed us to the forefront of technology. We're able now to go out and conduct large-scale surveys, building surveys, bridge inspections, all in aim of saving money for our customer and allowing us to produce the lowest water bills for each of our customers. Today's demonstration of the Wingtra flying above the Lady Bower Dam has been a fantastic sort of use case of how we may use this particular type of aircraft going forwards. It's shown a lot of benefits by reducing flight times and also being able to carry a heavier payload, which equates to a higher megapixel camera, so we can fly higher height at a safer distance and conduct the survey at a far quicker time, allowing us to get much more detailed results with a.
So I'm just going to end the video there now, guys. I'm going to show you the actual data from it, which I know is the things everybody wants to see most of all. So this, as Duncan mentioned on that particular interview with him, that was all done in about.
Hi, I'm Duncan Turner. I lead the drone team at Severn Trent Water. We're doing a dam survey using the Wingtra to test the capabilities of this new aircraft. This type of survey may have taken the dam team several days to complete, where we've been able to complete the entire survey of the dam with the Wingtra in under 90 minutes.
Data here, and then we
shown
do a full survey of about 120
reducing flight times, allowing us to get much more detailed results with a high efficiency of sort of time savings.
So that's the Wingtra in, I suppose, all its glory. And you might be saying, well, when's the best time to use a Wingtra? How does it compare with other products on the market? So what we've got is this kind of comparison where we're looking at something from an entry-level multi-rotor system all the way up to the Wingtra One with the Sony RX camera. And straight away, you can see that added benefit and advantage of having that larger sensor in the camera. Now, what we're saying, certainly when we look at, say, the Phantom 4 RTK, we're not saying it's a bad drone, far from it. I'm a huge fan of the Phantom 4 RTK. But what we're looking at here is picking the right tool for that particular job. And you can see the efficiency of using a larger quality sensor that you can pick up vast amounts of data very efficiently, very effectively, and without compromising on the quality or the survey grade accuracy from it as well. So, I mean, a really great tool bag for a survey business to have would be a WingtraOne and a Phantom 4 RTK. So for some of them very small areas, you can get the Phantom out. But if you're doing some larger areas as well, or medium-sized areas, you can use the WingtraOne for that sort of one. And I'm a firm believer in time. That'll just happen. Businesses will have that budget and that funding to be actually buy different drones for different applications. Because at the end of the day, they are just a tool to use. And it's kind of our choice to pick what's the best tool for that particular job. So when we also look at this, a really great comparison is when I talk about being able to pick out features or being able to pick up checkpoints when we're making sure that data is of good quality. So this is just a little side-by-side comparison with the WingtraOne and the RX and the Phantom 4 RTK. So both these data sets were flown at 65 meters. So on the left-hand side, we've got the WingtraOne data at a 0.8 centimeter GSD compared with a 1.8 centimeter GSD with the Phantom. So we've got this high quality resolution flying at the same altitude, but we've got much more clearer data. We can pick out features. If we imagine that we're going to process this data through, we might extract some of the features in, say, CAD or Pixel survey. We've got a much higher chance of being able to define them features by using the WingtraOne on them particular applications. So it's always about picking the right job, the right camera for the job. You know, we know drones are pretty much kind of the workhorse, the donkey to carry our sensor, and the sensor's our money piece when it comes to drone. That's really going to improve efficiency and give that high quality data to our client at the end. So I've done, I did a video of a comparison between the Phantom 4 RTK only last summer. It's not going to go through it. It's quite a long video, but this really does show the differences in sensor quality. So this was a comparison of two data sets, one from the WingtraOne, one from the Phantom 4 RTK, and a comparison between the two. So I believe this was from the, this looks like it's from the WingtraOne. Yeah, so that's just a point cloud from the WingtraOne data set, and then I've turned that off, and we're left with the Phantom 4 RTK. So straight away, these were done in the similar flight time. So with the Phantom, it was about 20 minutes, if I remember rightly, in the WingtraOne, in about a 20-minute flight time, when we've just covered vast amount of data included in that. And you'll find that the data quality is nicer and the data is a lot cleaner from a better quality sensor. So I'm just going to put a cross section through these two. You can see the clear difference from a Phantom 4 RTK and the RX. The color's better on the camera as well. And I just put a cross section through this particular area so you can see the differences between the two. I mean, this is always the thing I always try to tell people: you invest in your sensor and you'll get them results out of the other side. So just a small, just have a look at the point spread from the drone data sets, and then just a cross line from the two. And this is from on the WingtraOne. So nice and clean, nice and concise, good quality data straight away. So we have got, if you go for the RX version, you do have this choice of having a very high grade accuracy GNSS receiver. And when we're looking at things like PPK, like the WingtraOne system is, people often say, well, why have they gone for PPK and not RTK? Well, the main reason is PPK is a lot more stable. We don't have to worry about sending that correction out to the drone in flight, which sometimes might be a kilometer away or 2 kilometers. I mean, good news about the WingtraOne, there are 3 companies in the UK with the WingtraOne, which has that on EVLOS permissions and can fly up to 1.5 kilometers. And I think one of them's even got up to 2 kilometers on it with an operational safety case. So the precedents have been set. But what that allows you to do with certainly the survey grade accuracy is that with a PPK module, we don't have to worry about sending that correction to a drone, which could, I say, as I said, over 1,000, 1,500 meters away. So really all we're doing is when we're putting some points down on the ground is we're checking that data, we're validating that data so that when we're submitting this data to the client or we're using it for further processing, like pulling off features, we know that that's the best possible accuracy we possibly can achieve with drones. And that really makes a difference when we are creating the point cloud or the ortho mosaics. And it's also one of the biggest time-saving devices. People often say, well, what's the point of RTK-enabled drones? What's the point of PPK? Well, it's time-saving. We're not necessarily gaining any more accuracy, but we're saving ourselves having to walk around a site all day, or if you come in large areas, walking around, walking around site or going around on a quad bike or anything like that. It's purely a time-saving device. So this is just about highly accurate stockpiles. Now, I get a bit annoyed and a bit frustrated when people often say, well, I don't do many stockpile. What's the point of having a drone? Well, drones are more than just a stockpile tool, but they are very, very good, and you can get very highly accurate stockpile measurements from them. So whereas before you would go over a stockpile with a smart rover clambering over large stockpiles, which can be obviously dangerous and very time consuming, and you might only pick up a point every so often. When you're using drone or photogrammetric processing, you've got thousands of points. So you are creating a more realistic representation of that particular stockpile, which in turn, when you are pulling volumetrics from it, are going to give you a greater accuracy. So I think Leica Geosystems, if I remember rightly, they did a comparison from a drone data set and they compared that with a traditional methods, and both results were within 5% one another. So you can say that drone data, it's been proven for a long time now that drones are a very good, efficient way of collecting data on a mass scale with highly accurate, fantastic results. I think we're beyond that stage in the industry now where we have to kind of prove to a business or prove to an end client that why can't I use drones? It's being used by hundreds of businesses across the UK. So this kind of thing about proving a concept or proof of concept really is quite unnecessary now. As long as the data are good and we can either yourselves as a client, a business showing to your clients, we've pretty much gone past that stage now. So what does the WingtraOne also offer? You've got this versatility with payload. So you don't necessarily have to start on the highest, all singing, all dancing Wingtra system. You can start off small with kind of the entry-level cameras like the QX1 and build up accordingly. And that's what's really great about the PPK module as well. And because this system's modular, you could start off with, say, for example, a QX1 camera, and you might have a particular job which comes in a month or so's time after you originally bought, and say, well, actually, I'll probably benefit from that PPK module, or actually, that's a large survey job. Maybe the RX1 would be a better sense for that. The good thing about that is you don't have to send it back to ourselves or Wingtra. You all have to do is purchase the payload kit. We'll send it to you, and you can install it yourself. It takes 10 minutes to do, 4 bolts out, and put the new payload module in. So you have got this versatility. It's future-proofed as well. There'll be more sensors, I'm sure, on the way from Wingtra later on this year or next year. So they're constantly evolving and constantly trying to improve and making this more of a viable investment for businesses who might in future think, well, actually, maybe I'll look at the agricultural side. Well, you don't have to then buy a whole new drone. You just buy the new payload. Most of the time, people always go for the RX and maybe add the PPK module at a later stage. And these are just of the two options you've got in terms of the multispectral stuff. So you got sort of the Red Edge, which was is the entry level multispectral system, and now you've got the I suppose the Pierce resistance from Micasense with the Alton, which is a fantastic multispectral camera. If that's what you're into in terms of crop health, looking at agricultural side of things, it really is a great payload and integrated perfectly on the Wingtra. It's all done through the Wingtra Pilot app. Through there. So moving on to the tablet now. So all your flight planning is done through a tablet. This allows for you to either do it at home or in the field. There's no RC with the Wingtra with the latest editions. The telemetry link goes into the iPad, and you have the telemetry link, so you know where the drone is, know where it's acting, and also you can control it. So if you do ever need to fly it manually or in assisted mode, as it's called with the Wingtra, you simply put it on pause and some joysticks appear on the screen and you can control it that way. So in terms of the flight planning capabilities, you have the area mode, or you can have a linear mode for corridor mapping. You can input your KML files, so you know exactly what survey area you've got to do. You've got the terrain following as well, so you can maintain that constant GSD in some very mountainous terrains. It is fully automated, everything from the start, from the takeoff, all the way up to the landing. You're really there, I believe, when you want to fly in assisted mode or take control, is if you're not happy with something, and that might be something like an air prox, or it is slightly windy, so you might want to bring it under your control and bring it down when you wish. But apart from that, it really is an autonomous mission. You have a full safety checklist before flight. So once you're happy with your safety requirements, so you can set a geofence around the area. So should it ever creep out of that, it will return back to home. That's the same if you lose lock with the telemetry system or your batteries are low, it's automatically going to come back home. So it really is a safe platform to use. And before you take place, you have this full safety check you go through and have to tick off every single individual one before it even flies. So even some novice who might not be 100% comfortable at the beginning, it builds immediate confidence into a pilot that they know they haven't missed anything. Battery swap as well, and you can resume that mission, so you don't have to do a flight plan again. And you've got multi-flight geotagging as well, and the PPK processing is used by Wingtra Hub. There's no annual fees to that. Once you purchase the Wingtra with the PPK, it really is relatively cheap ongoing costs. You might only want to buy some spare props or some extra batteries if you've got a particular job which has come in for that. So I've got a couple of videos to show you. So first of all, I'm going to show you this video about the Wingtra in the wind. It's one of my bit of frustrations I hear from people when people have said, yeah, but look how big it is. It must be terrible in the wind. But this is a great example where it's not the case. So I'm just going to break this. So this was done in Calais, France. Hopefully you can all see that. So this was in a very gusty conditions, very windy. And you can see this is all done on autonomous mode. And how well it reacts. You can just hear from the camera, very windy. The actual Wingtra was designed on a Formula One wing. So how it's been constantly trying to move into the best position for its landing. Just in the grid, it goes on a little bit too long, but I can assure you it does land. It doesn't land at the end perfect. So I've had this a good example. I had this down at a quarry in St Austell in Cornwall, and that was a particularly windy day, and it landed within about 1.5 meters of its original takeoff and landing area, which was staggering. It always amazes me how it takes off and lands exactly how you want it to. This is the rapid transition. So this is the descent for the landing. It gets to about 30 meters. This bottom sensor kicks in. So some other VTOL systems on the market don't have this sensor, unless it was constantly trying to adjust and control. And there we go. I'm sure you'll agree that's mightily impressive. That is. For that, so I'm just going to go through some use cases, and we can have a Q&A session at the end. So this was a good example of exactly, Jay. That's exactly. I always say it's like the SpaceX rockets, the Wingtra system. It's quite incredible. So this was a good example of the Wingtra being used in a large survey capability and how it compared to traditional methods. This was with a company called Omega Geomatics. Their job was to survey, around 200 acres of survey. And they said this was going to typically take them maybe 2 to 3 weeks with a total station, and maybe a week to take that data then and start creating some CAD drawings from it. So it took about 3 hours to put some ground control points out, and took about an hour and 20 minutes to fly. And they only had standard permissions from the CA, so they didn't have any eve loss, so they had to keep moving around this site. And it took about 3 days to process. So already they'd saved, 2 weeks of on-site processing from that. And from that data, they created CAD drawings, which they were then issued to the client. So you could have made that even easier because they were spent 3 hours putting the ground control points down. If it's PPK enabled, they could have slashed that down maybe to an hour, just put the odd point here and there as a gross check. And they went back out in the field and did some cross checks with the results from the drone, some spot level checks, and those within 50 mil, which was quite incredible considering they flew this at 120 meters and collected that amount of data in such a small space of time. And you can see here a bit more of a larger view of that data set. And I saw the data set from it. It was amazing. It was really incredible for that vast area. And this is where the WingtraOne really comes into its own. You can be out the case within 5 or 6 minutes and up in the air flying. So next example I've got, this was with RPS. This was a large area in Wales. I can't remember who they were doing it for, but their job was basically to fly this large area, first of all with LiDAR, and then with photogrammetry to produce the ortho image. So as you can see from this particular site, this was 280 hectares, large, massive area from it. And I can show you a video of this particular data set. So this is obviously very, very big. This probably took about, if I remember right, there's about 3 or 4 takeoff and landing areas they did. And they flew it all, if I remember right, in about 4 hours, which is pretty incredible considering this would have just taken weeks and weeks and weeks to do before. And again, from even flying at this large altitude of I think that's flying at about 110 meters, in this particular one with the full-on terrain following, so maintaining that steady GSD across the full model. You can see all the roads on there, the features on some of these country roads as well. You can even pick out manholes from that particular one. And they combine this data set from the photogrammetry with their LiDAR and use the ortho from that to colorize it. Really, really huge product, and really one of the benefits of why they opted to use the WingtraOne in that particular application. So when it comes to the post-processing of the data, the WingtraOne can be used with, in terms of the processing side, in anything from Pixel D Mapper, which we're a trainer and a reseller of, or things like Agisoft, SimActive, Propeller. It can be used in anything. As long as you can import them images with the geotags, you're free to go and process through and get these data sets from it. And as we've touched on before, from using these softwares, we can produce things like the point cloud, digital elevation models. We can get the ortho mosaics out, but we also can get the colorized meshes. So if you look at it from, say, a construction point of view, and you work with things like machine control quite a lot, you can use the drone to create that mesh, put that in your machine control outfit, and use that to make sure that you're digging in the right place, or you can use it to create cut and fill surveys, that kind of thing. So drones really are this great. They're not just sort of a one-trick pony. They can be used for multiple applications, one flight, multiple deliverables from that. So WingtraOne as well, I mean, that will always be your first port of service in terms of support and help with that. But WingtraOne themselves have a really, really incredible knowledge base and learning log. So they are full tuition videos from turning the WingtraOne on to planning flights to taking the data out. They've invested a lot of time and effort into getting this knowledge hub right so that you'll never be stuck. You'll never be looking for answers anywhere. Everything's available on a great online portal so that you're never going to be stuck in the dark. Obviously, we're always on hand 24/7. But if you want to do sort of a bit of self-learning, or you're writing and putting this information in your ops manual or planning a job, it's all available there online. And they have some really great case studies on there, and most importantly, really great use cases from people who are actually using this in industry. And I think that's the important thing. The Wingtra's been around for 3 or 4 years now. It's not new, and there's many success stories out there with people using them. So touching on sort of what you can get with the bundle. So you'll always have the WingtraOne, that always comes as a package. And then really on top of that, you add your sensors. So either the QX1, the RX1, or any of the multispectral cameras. And then on top of that, you add, if you want, a PPK module on the top. So they do come as packages. You do have that. The tablet comes with it, 2 sets of batteries. You have all the spares with it as well, and a hard case for accessories as well. The only additional options you need, I've said, is do I want the PPK? Do I want a hard case with it? Or is there any additional spares I might want to tag along with it, just in case I am caught out on site? And most people I know will process this through Pix4D, but it's really entirely up to yourself how you wish to process that. And starting prices from the from the PPK and the QX1 as a complete package, you're looking around £17,000 excluding VAT. So to the important Q&A session. So I can see some questions here. So I'm going to start at the top. So Darren, I've answered yours. Hope that one's okay and was answered for you okay. The autopilot source uses the Pixhawk Cube in the Wingtra system, Tom. Entry-level package, as I said, for the entry-level package of the Wingtra, you're looking around the £17,000 mark. And for the all singing, all dancing one, you're looking around 25 for that. Jed, can we hire the Wingtra? Unfortunately not. It's only available on purchase, or we also do a leasing option as well, where you can spread that cost over a 1 to 3 or 4 year period to help with any cash flow, or just to spread that cost over a larger timescale. Larry, is the photogrammetry sufficient for power transmission line design, or would you require LiDAR for that? Personally, I would still opt for LiDAR. If you want to measure things like line sag, then definitely LiDAR really comes into its own when you're measuring that sort of thing. And if you want to just take heights from, say, where the line lays on a pylon, it'll be fine for that. There are some tools out, and if you do look at Pix4D survey, even with photogrammetry, they have got some algorithms in there where you can pull off line sag. From personal experience, I wouldn't like to say yay or nay at the moment, just because I don't have much experience with the line sag. So we'd always advise LiDAR for that particular application. But I'm sure it's been done, and certainly if you do look at Pix4D survey, I'm sure they've got some case studies on there where they've used it in that kind of application. I take it the multi-spec / photo / LiDARs are a separate payload. That's right, Jake. So there's no LiDAR capabilities with the Wingtra system. In terms of payload choices, you can have the Sony QX, which is a 20 megapixel camera. You've got the full frame medium format Sony RX, which is a 42 megapixel camera. You have the 2 options with the MicaSense multispectrals. You've got the Red Edge and you've got the Altum. And then you've got the option of if you want a PPK module with it as well. Is there any more questions, ladies and gentlemen? Please feel free to reach out to myself as well. My contact details are on the previous slide. I'll just go back to them. So please feel free to either send me an email or give me a call, and I'll happily be able to go through any questions you've got, or run for any scenarios which you might have. So yeah, hope everyone's safe and well. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'm always on hand to talk to the factory side, you guys, about either drones in general or survey. We really do feel we can bespoke the best drone for your particular usage. And yeah, please keep in touch. Good luck, everyone, and thanks very much. And I'm sure I'll speak to everybody very soon. Thanks. Bye.